you're based in Arnhem, but you choose to show in London. What's special about London for you?
Oh, we love London. London is all about creativity, no? So, we're creative.
And tell me about the fun you must have had in the studio creating that, because there were a lot of challenging pieces there, weren't there?
Yeah.
But
it was
yourself.
really
It's
funny. Once we worked on it and you looked at it for a few days, it was like, oh yeah, it's all right. It's not that crazy.
And what are you going to do now? Do you get some downtime in London? Do you get to rest, or is it flight?
I wish. We have to go to Paris
Tomorrow
it's
already.
not so bad, but to select the work there, to select the fabrics for next season already. It's like that. That's fashion.
That's true. You've got to keep moving. Well, thank you so much for talking to us at FUK. We're here in the back of a cab and we're going to be heading off in a minute to Fashion East. We've been given a glass of champagne. It's a real treat for us by this lady Janine. This lady Janet is going to do something with our feet on the way. I'm not too sure what, but she's promising that it's going to be really, really relaxing. And yeah, heading off to Fashion East. Andy, whenever you're ready, mate. Henry, thank you so much for that. In one season, we've seen quite an amazing transformation in what you've done.
Thank you very much.
Talk us through how you've worked, the prints, the collaborations.
The prints, we started work on the prints about 3 months ago, and we knew that we wanted to work with tie-dye, but then we didn't want to do like, you know, traditional tie-dye with the swirls and the hippie kind of thing. So we used a technique called shiburu. Shiburu, which is an ancient Chinese technique of tie-dyeing, which involves like knotting and stitching and folding. And we worked with a textile woman on that for a while, and then we lifted prints from the samples so we could produce it on a more production level, because the tie-dye production is just ridiculously like high. And then just like loads of my friends were like, oh, let me do the jewellery and let me do the bags, let me do the shoes.
Katie Hillier doing the jewellery.
Yeah, Katie Hillier did the jewellery, which I'm really so thrilled about. She's amazing. Stuart, we did the bags together with Stuart last time, and then he was like, I want to help this time, which was really nice. But we did obviously like leather bags, 3 different styles, gave them a name.
What are they called? Henry's bags are?
Yes, the Alice, the Fleur and the Stephanie. That's my mum and my 2 sisters.
Lovely. And shoes. Cool, blimey, they're good.
Yes, the shoes were by Atalanta Weller for House of Holland, and she is a friend of a friend who we just met out in a bar. People always are like, why are you out partying? And I meet people that make amazing shoes.
Henry, that's fantastic. Can you just do one favour?
Yes.
Jimmy Hill, we brought him with us on Fashion Week.
Right.
Bit of fashion fun.
Right.
Have you got any, say hello to Jimmy, have you got
Hi,
any
Jimmy.
style advice for Jimmy? He's taken in a lot this week. Have you got any advice for him?
I like the tash, Jimmy. I'd keep the tash. They're coming back in a big way. Keep it grey, natural's grey, none of that just for men bollocks. Maybe up the tones on the colours. It's a little bit mustard and brown, slightly diarrhea. But other than that, the blush is good. Good blush.
Thank you very much. Noki,
Yes.
thank you very much for that collection. Can you describe how you work? How did you make those clothes? Do you draw?
Came in from Scotland. Always had to style out my own way because you're denied the brand in Scotland. Yeah. Growing up in the 80s with the casual movement, very into sportswear, lots of T-shirts and stuff like that. Coming down to doing a degree at Edinburgh College of Art, feeling a bit like a fake because I wasn't very good at being a designer. Moved away, came down here, went to New York, came back, very inspired, moved up to London. Worked at the Blue Note, did lots of wicked underground stuff, Mo Wax Days at Dusted, the Goldie Nights, Metalheads.
Busy man.
Yeah, did lots of nights at that, working there. Worked at a magazine called Blah Blah Blah, moved over to MTV.
I remember.
And then MTV, I was a stylist for VJs there, was given budgets in and out every second-hand shop I could possibly get to make the clothing work, because every day they're on screen. So highly trained in visual, touching fabric lengths and all that, so I know exactly what I like. And then getting a bit hacked off with the corporate way, as you do you know what I mean? People were, at that time in Britain, they started sacking everybody to make money for digital. So all the interns were given the big boys jobs but no increases, so there was a lot of bad tension kicked off. When we were all having a great time, and then obviously the corporate just flipped mode on you and it kicked off. So a lot of tension, a lot of badness, a lot of anger kicked off. I was at the time trying to do my alternative styling to the generic and cutting up t-shirts, got the rage on, started making one-offs out of the corporate. And just started just making one-off pieces out of stuff, and people were going, is that Adidas or Nike? When have they made little dresses and little t-shirts and stringy bits and all that? So I was just getting creative on it, bits of training from art college, discovering the artist, getting into being like a sort of mindset of like the culture jamming thing within media, being very inspired by books like No Logo and Culture Jam, Kill Lazen's Adbusters. Met Naomi Klein the other day. She was lovely. Tried to get her to come to the show, but she's doing a book signing over in New York, a new book. So,
is she a fan of your work? Does she know your work?
No. But we will cook. We'll hook up so eventually. And just getting into it really, and just doing the artist, working for Luella, doing artwork for her. Worked in London, moved away.
Noki, I've got to know your methods, darling. I want to know your methods. How do you put together? Does an outfit start in your head with a picture?
No,
do you draw it?
How? No, I think it's actually working in a rag. I worked for a recycling company in Brighton for 2 years, and it was like doing a PhD. You went in and the rag was coming in every day in piles and piles of it, and you had to deal with it straight away because any damp just gets soaked up. So you have to grade it bag, shoes in bags, belts, you have to make it all...
You must be fast.
I'm pretty fast, yeah, well that's what's trained me. My whole thing from MTV days through to that was like bam, 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 oh, love it. But when you have a big pile, colours and textures stick together. So, and all of a sudden you're like, I would never have thought of that. So then you start seeing things that you would never have seen before because you're just looking at the random and departmentalising the random, do you know what I mean?